went back to work 2 weeks ago, and I thought I would share with you on some of the things that I did to prep for going back to work. And I think my preparation helped me be more okay with this transition, because I was having a lot of anxiety about going back to work, and good thing I prepped. And I think for the past 2 weeks things have been okay. So the very first thing I did as part of the preparation is sleep training. And I think if there's only one thing that you do to prep for going back to work is to sleep train. And I know it's not for everyone, but I would say it is the best thing that I did. So before the sleep training, Emma was waking up once at night, which is not bad at all, right? But I would still get really tired during the day. I knew that if I was always tired, then I wouldn't be able to work the whole day, right? So I decided to sleep train. And I knew that she was ready for the training when she would fall asleep really fast when I fed her in the middle of the night, which meant to me that she wasn't very hungry and she just needed some attention. So that was when I knew that she was ready for the for sleep training. And also there was one incident where she cried from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. straight. And John and I took turns rocking her to sleep. And after that incident, I was like, okay, Emma, you have to learn how to sleep on your own. So yeah, those two things combined were the main push to sleep train her, and it's worked out perfectly. She sleeps 12 hours at night and I get to sleep, and that also means I am able to work. Our office provides the Mandela Symphony, and I have the Spectra at home, which means I needed to get all new parts to use the pump at work. So I bought all my parts early, and I also went to the office to try the pump. And the logistics of pumping at work is a lot more involved than pumping at home. So I did this whole dry run thing where I dropped Emma off at the nannyshare and I went to the office and I used the mother's room to pump, and I stored my milk in the fridge in the mother's room, and then I put my parts away also in the fridge in the mother's room. So that I needed to practice that whole thing around pumping at work. We made plans for a nannyshare for Emma, and I needed to know that her and the nanny would get along. So we did a few transition visits with the nanny, so that they can get to know each other, right? So nanny came to my house a few times, and I also spent some time with Emma in my coworker's house a few times. We started with half day, and then we also did a full day just dry run with the nanny, and that was very I would say that was a very good thing to do, because Emma didn't really need to get used to the whole I'm going to a different house thing, because she already kind of knew about that situation. So she didn't really get Emma. So I would say, you know, she didn't really cry that much after I went back to work, and I think it's due to the transition. I also had a meeting with my manager 1 month before I went back to work and 1 week before I went back to work, just so that I kind of already knew what's been happening, because I've been gone for 5 months and a lot of things can change in 5 months, right? So I didn't want to not know anything before going back to work. So having the 2 meetings I had with my manager really helped prepare mentally for me. And I also kept in touch with my team for the entire 5 months when I was gone. So they would kind of give me updates here and there. So I knew about, you know, some of the org changes. I knew about what was happening with our projects. So going back, I already kind of knew what was happening, and I didn't really need to play catch up. I pump 3 times at work now, so I block my calendar right away at 9 a.m., at noon, and at 3 p.m. I used to have back-to-back meetings every day, so blocking my calendar early for pumping just made sense. And that also made it easy for me to actually make the time to go to the mother's room and pump 3 times a day. I also block my calendar after 4:30, because that's when I need to head out to pick up Emma. So yeah, that also helps. Before I used to have meetings at 5, so yes, I also needed to block the calendar so that I could leave the office on time. I also prepped myself mentally to expect that this transition of going back to work wasn't going to be easy. And I know it's a transition, which means that it was going to take some time. Which means it's going to take time for me to fully transition back to work. And I read this book called The 5th Trimester, which also really helped. And as the name suggests, 5th trimester, which means for 3 months you're transitioning back to work, and you're learning to be a working mom and juggle the different schedules and juggle the different priorities both at home and at work. The most important advice from that book was, if you're here today in terms of your career, 5 years later you're probably here. So just think back to where you were 5 years ago to where you are now, and that's how much you have progressed in your career. And it would be very challenging to play catch up if you were to return to the workforce 5 years later. So when I read that, I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and that kind of is a big force that keeps me going every day whenever I struggle with the idea of going back to work, because I don't feel very confident about returning back to the workplace if I don't stay in it, you know? I also saved up some breast milk in my freezer. I started pumping about a month and a half before going back to work, because I was afraid of my supply dropping, and I knew that I couldn't really pump a lot of milk. And Emma is now drinking 7 to 8 ounces every feed, and she feeds twice a day, so that's about 16 ounces a day. And I definitely cannot pump 16 ounces in one day. So now I'm pumping maybe 10 to 12 ounce, and then I am using the breast milk that I stored in my freezer from before, which means I'm going to run out of my stash one day, and I guess that is when we'll be switching over to formula. And the last thing I did to prep is to join mommy support groups on Facebook, and that also helped me a lot because it's helpful to see the challenges that other moms face, so you don't feel alone, and it's also helpful to see tips from other moms that have been there in the past, that been through it before. And I remember one of the things I learned from the support group is how to make your pumping ritual more efficient at work, which is you don't necessarily have to wash all your parts every single time you pump. So what I do is I don't rinse any of my parts in between pumping. I just put my parts in the fridge because breast milk can stay good in the fridge for 3 to 5 days, right? So it makes sense that you don't need to wash your parts in between pumping sessions, and that definitely saves me a lot of time to actually physically go to the mother's room, sit down, get my parts ready, plug it into the machine, and then put it on the boob, and then start pumping, and then put your parts away, and then put your milk in the fridge. Right now, the whole session takes me about 20 minutes, and the not washing parts thing can probably save about 5 minutes. So yeah, that was a very good thing that I learned from the mommy support group that I joined. So yeah, that is how I prep for going back to work. It's definitely helped me a lot, so hopefully to the working moms out there, you guys find this video helpful, and hopefully your transition, Emma's getting tired now, and hopefully going back to work isn't too difficult for you. So yeah, that's it. I'm gonna put Emma to sleep, and see you next time. Emma, say good night. Good night, everyone.